Hello, everybody. Welcome into the NBA Front Office Show. It's Friday. You know what that means.
Front Office Friday! Post-Hurricane edition.
Post-Hurricane edition. Let's go. Let's go. Keith Smith back in action. Keith, I guess before we get to all of our NBA stuff, what's the weather update? What's the weather report there in Florida?
Today, it's gorgeous. It's one of the best days we've had in months. It's not too hot. It's the hurricane dragged in a whole bunch of cool air in behind it, finally cooled things down. It's just an absolutely beautiful day outside, sunny and bright. And it's it's so weird after a hurricane. Like, it's often some of the best days of the year come right in their wake as far as weather goes. But yeah, other than that, we're cleaning up, picking up. We did most of our cleanup around our house yesterday. Neighborhood is looking pretty good now too. So just for us, we got very fortunate, extremely lucky that we're all still good. A lot of the state is not. There were a lot of people lost everything, and it's just pretty scary stuff out there, and a lot of tornadoes on the front right side of this one as it came through. All across southeast Florida got hit pretty hard with that, and not to mention Tampa. I'm sure people saw the images of Tropicana Field, the roof just shredding off of there. So yeah, it was just a scary time. It lasted like 5 hours overnight. It was just just really just a brutal night. So but on the back end of it, we did okay. So we're very thankful to everybody who reached out with all the support and everything. Thank you all so much.
Keith, I know you had a sleepless night, but glad you're able to make it through and everything turned out okay. Obviously, not a lot of people not so fortunate in Florida, so of course we'll continue to keep an eye on all of that. But we're certainly glad that we're able to be doing our show today here. We weren't sure what it was going to look like, in terms of the power situation and all of that, but happy to be back at it for Front Office Friday. We'll be taking everybody's live questions and comments and all of that. Were there any topics for the last couple of days that you've been itching to get into? I know we haven't been on in I guess a couple of days here.
Yeah, no, I mean, not really. I mean, I think things were, pretty much business as usual. We're in the preseason, right? So everybody's just kind of moving through the middle part of the preseason here. And it's, I thought a lot was made of the Lakers are looking for a center story. Yeah, no kidding. We think we know that, right? We've known that for a little while here. But yeah, we'll see, what it looks like, with that if it comes. But yeah, I mean, roster moves are camp moves at this point, right? It's everybody is just looking for making some camp moves. I think we talked the Wendell Carter extension already, so
we did.
Yeah, there was nothing extreme. I didn't get to watch a lot of the preseason the last couple of days. I've been really was locked into the weather and all that, but yeah, it's we're good to go.
Well, so there was the whole Lakers looking for a center thing. It was noteworthy because it was Shams Charania on ESPN, which is going to take some getting used to.
Yes.
That was talking about that. But there's a number of teams that have been looking for centers, and I discussed this quite a bit on Lakers Nation. This is not the time of year when you typically see trades. I know we just had the Karl Anthony Towns trade, but I think it's more of an outlier. And I know we go back here and we go, oh, Damian Lillard, but it's still not typically trade season in the NBA. Most teams, they like their squad, they like the moves they made, they're not eager to make a deal right now, and you have the guys who signed contracts over the summer that are not currently trade eligible, so that further restricts the amount of players that are actually out there to move. So it's not like I'm expecting the Lakers to make a trade or anything. Sure, they're out there and look, they should be, right? The report should not be that they're not out there looking, right? If the report is that the Lakers have given up on looking for a center, then they're not doing their jobs, right? Yeah. The report should be from every team that they are exploring the trade market, because that's the job of the front office, to constantly be exploring the trade market and see what happens and what's available to them. But speaking of centers, I did want to talk to you about something that I thought was a little bit wacky, and that's the Pelicans. There's a rumor going around that the Pelicans are looking to start Herb Jones at the 5. Now, how much of that is just they're going to call him the 5, just nominally they're going to set him up as the 5, and he's actually at 6'7" and like 215 pounds soaking wet. How much of it is he's actually going to play center for them versus we're just calling him that, and really we're just putting our 5 best players on the floor and kind of whatever. We'll go with a non-traditional lineup here.
Yeah, this reminds me of a couple years ago when the Nets started Bruce Brown at the 5, and 6'5" Bruce Brown was their center. It was really just they were doing more of the kind of traditional center things on offense. So a lot of the screening, a lot of the stuff, they were the one kind of living around the nail in that kind of stuff. So I think that's what we could see. You're certainly not going to take Herb Jones, who may be the best perimeter defender in the entire league, and all of a sudden be like, go guard Nikola Jokic, right? Like, that's not, I mean, yeah, he could take turns on Jokic, sure. But I think this is more of just, well, we don't really have a 5. And if we're going to put our best guys on the floor, someone has to play out of position. So we're just going to call Herb Jones the center and then move on. But as far as him actually playing the 5, I don't really think that's a thing. Yeah, Bryce checking in. Hey, Bryce. Is this just Zion not wanting to be called the 5? Yeah, I mean, that might be part of it too.
Right.
That it's so funny that we're still here. Like, remember for years and years. Yeah, Tim Duncan and Kevin Garnett were like, no, we're forwards. And neither one of us is a 7-footer, right? We're both 6'13" or whatever. It's like,
right.
Come on, you're both 7 feet tall and you're both centers. Like we can knock all this off. So yeah, I still think there's a chance when the Pelicans tip against lineups that have let's say a top end, top 3 to 5 center in the league, that Daniel Tice is still out there, or Yves Missy, or Carlo Makovich. And those guys are the starting 5. And then they downsize as they go. Just because you don't want to go into a game against, let's say, Jokic and be like, well, we're just going to mix and match and figure it out, because it's just probably not going to go super well for you right out of the gate. Not that like Tice is going to shut him down, but at least Tice gives you somebody who for the first 5 minutes can lean on him, push him out a little bit more, bit bang inside on the post and that sort of stuff. So, but they're definitely gonna play small a lot. That's more my takeaway.
So then, are we assuming it would be CJ McCollum, DeJounte Murray? Call whichever one the 1, whichever one the 2 that you want. I'd probably call McCollum the 2 and CJ and DeJounte the 1. But regardless, those are going to be your 2 guards. You're going to have Brandon Ingram, Zion, and Herb Jones. That's going to be your 5 for the Pelicans.
Yeah, I think so, especially while Murphy is out, right? Because that's the other piece in this. When he's there, they have 6 starting level players, and none of them are a center. So I would, at some point, barring a trade, I would really, if I was the Pelicans, I would move CJ McCollum to the bench. I've said this before. I would put him on the bench and say, you're still going to play 25, 30 minutes a night. You're just going to come off the bench. That allows us to open with, even if they want to play small, Zion, Ingram, Murphy, Jones, and Murray, and go from there. Switchy. I would even do it today and start a real center. And that, even if that means Daniel Tice starts and at the first TV timeout, he comes out and you don't see him again in the half, and you go small for the rest of the half, that's fine. Teams have done that for years to large success, but that's the way I would look at doing that. But it seems like they're still pretty locked into, we're still going to run with McCollum as a starter, and it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, it's not. This is a situation where I think the Pelicans just have to lean into, hey, this is our best group. And so we're going to put them on the floor. These are our best players, even though technically we don't have a traditional center or whatever, and we're going to go with it. And I do think they're a very, very high likelihood team to make a move, to make a trade before the deadline. They'll make some kind of a move to add to the center spot. But in the meantime, I think there's enough talent here for them to stay above water. I don't know. For me, the projections have gotten a little bit too high on them, because I think in the West, the clunkiness of this lineup could be a difference maker for them just right now. But I think that's a situation they could certainly rectify before the trade deadline.
Yeah, I agree. They're for me, they're in that second tier, which is like 6 teams deep, second tier of they're not a finals contender, but they're there, like in that next group in the West, and that's a pretty good group there. So Tatum's checking in. He's still
Hey,
here with
Tatum,
us too. He
hanging
made it
out.
through the storm okay.
How did the dogs like react to the storm?
Yeah, we have thankfully, because we have so many like crazy thunderstorms here all the time, we have some anti-anxiety medicine that we give them in advance, and with knowing the hurricane was coming, they were that. But we did normally they don't sleep like they don't have like free run of the house when we tried to sleep. But they were like, hey, we can go in the bed tonight. Let's do it. And they were both in the bed and out cold while we sat up and hung out and watched TV and everything else. So yeah, I think they both did okay. I don't even know how much they noticed. And then they're loving it because now there's still sticks all over the backyard, and that means that there's sticks all over our house because they keep bringing them in to the house. So that's also
look what I found, and I found another one.
Hi, buddy. Hi. I want to pull this one up because I thought this was an interesting question.
Yeah,
I
saw that as well.
In today's NBA, he'd be great, right? I mean, I am a firm believer any all-time great player would fit in any era, version, whatever you want to call it, of the NBA. So I think Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, they'd be great, right? All-time great players. Michael Jordan would be great. You could take LeBron and LeBron in like the 50s just always makes me laugh because it'd be like, what is happening here? Like they'd be so confused as to whatever, like, why is this guy jumping so high and running so fast? And he's a center, like sized guy. But like those guys would all be incredible. So I think, Shaq, you'd build an offense that is built around throwing it to him in the post and letting him go to work. And I do think there'd be more pressure on him than there even was throughout his career to be in better shape. Because now it's a 24-hour a day thing that started much more towards the end of his career, where people were just constantly on guys. I mean, look at all the jokes that have been made about James Harden over the years. Like the Shaq jokes would have been the same. And that's kind of a scary thought, right? If he had been fully healthy for the whole run and in shape, like how much more dominant he even could have been. And maybe his career lasts even longer, especially as a high level peak player. But yeah, I think he'd be great.
Well, and remember, Shaq, he could put on weight because he was just catching the ball in the post and powering through people and all of that. Different game. But that's the other thing where people go, oh, but that guy from back then couldn't play in today's NBA. Well, it depends. Like, are you talking about getting the DeLorean up to 88 miles per hour, going and I guess somehow squeeze? I don't know if Shaq would even fit in a DeLorean, but you put him in the DeLorean and you bring him to today and throw him onto a floor. Like, that's a different conversation than Shaq grows up in this era. What is he like? Yeah, he's probably a lot lighter because he's got to be a bit more nimble getting out to the 3-point line and that sort of stuff. So just assuming that he can't do it, if he grew up in this era, I think he certainly could. And then physically, the man, I mean, he had the title most dominant ever because he was so physically dominant. He was unstoppable. Absolutely incredible to watch. So he would still be amazing. Is he going to be out there? Is he a stretch 5 shooting threes? No, but he would still be absolutely dominant.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think too, you'd see him. He was already became a pretty good passer. I think you would see him become an even better passer because you just teams would have no choice but to double him. Like then you'd see him, I think really open up. Now imagine Shaq too with space, like the way we play now.
Oh yeah.
That was very much, it's just starting towards the end of his career. Like I think about him, Ewing, Olajuwon, David Robinson, with the amount of space that they'd have now, like they'd be almost, I don't know how you would stop them down on the block because they were already unstoppable. And that's when your second defender was literally 2 feet away because everybody was all crammed around the key.
Yeah, a stretch 4 during that era was a guy who could shoot a 15-footer. Like that's essentially what that was. And then there was the wacky Dallas Mavericks who came in with Rafe LaFrentz and traded for him to try to pull Shaq away from the bat. They were ahead of their time, I guess, but it didn't work. All right, let's go here. Mamadou said, "Someone give Quincy Oliveri a contract." Keith, I don't know if you saw, but Quincy Oliveri was
He went
electric.
off.
He was fantastic last night, and the Lakers win over the Bucks. A big part of what they did last night. In fact, I just recorded a video on him for Lakers Nation that'll be out a little bit after this show. Keith, I had Quincy on Lakers Nation a couple of times over the last couple of months. He's a very remarkable young man, like just impressive. His mindset, his positivity. You can't have a conversation with him and not root for him afterwards. I mean, he's just a tremendous person. As far as giving him a contract, he's on an Exhibit 10 deal right now. That is pretty much going to funnel him to the South Bay Lakers. Now, what I said was, if this is one game, he played great. He played 9 minutes. I'm not going to say, okay, give this guy a full roster spot or something. They don't have a full roster spot to give. Most likely, let's say Quincy Oliveri continues to play just like he did last night for the remaining 3 games the Lakers have in preseason. What they could do would be to cut somebody on a 2-way contract and give him a 2-way spot. That's if somebody's saying Quincy Oliveri needs to be available for the Lakers this season or something like that, which again, we're getting ahead of ourselves with that. But just if we're living in that world somehow, then that would probably be the path to doing so, rather than let's try to free up a full roster spot.
Yeah, the freeing up the full roster spots not going to happen. Like, there just isn't a way to get there that's reasonable. Yeah, I get it. People like, make a trade, send out 2 for
Right.
1, and there it is. Like, sure, we get it. We all understand that part, but I don't think we're gonna get to that point, at least not now. The 2-way spot, your challenge there is you kind of need both Castleton and Koloko, because they're gonna have to play probably one of the 2 of them early in the season while they're still down centers. Because right now it's Davis, Hayes, and a whole bunch of guys would be cosplaying as a center. Like, it'd be like what we talked about with the Pelicans, right? It's
exactly.
none of those guys are 5. So you would be in a spot there where, you're probably okay with that, honestly, as long as Davis and Hayes are healthy and can play. You're okay. But if they're not available one night, or there's foul trouble or something, you're probably going to see Castleton or Koloko. My guess is one of the 2 will be active most nights early in the season. And then that means really the path becomes Armel Traore. And I think the Lakers like him and want to work with him as a developmental guy. So one good preseason game is not going to be enough that some other team's going to fly in and grab Olivari, unless it becomes like you know what, we want to do the same thing and we're going to give him the Exhibit 10, and we last had him, so we get his affiliate player rights. We occasionally see that happen, but I doubt it. My guess is he finishes preseason with the Lakers. He's a late cut, and then the Lakers get him to South Bay as an affiliate guy. And then from there, we'll see what happens, right? It's unfortunately, NBA history is littered with guys who have done this kind of thing, had monster preseasons, go to the G League, and then they're never really heard from again.
That does indeed happen, and obviously that's not what you're rooting for with any of these guys, really. But with Quincy, but we'll see ultimately where this goes. Now, remind me what the rules on an affiliate player. Another team comes in and says, "We want to give you a full NBA roster spot." What happens?
Yep, you just can go. They're one in the G League. Every player in the G League that is not on a 2-way contract or having been assigned to the G League, meaning, they're a first-round pick, but they were sent down to the G League, or like a second-round pick, like Bronny, right? We know Bronny's going to spend time in South Bay this year. So when he's there, those players are all off limits because they're signed to NBA deals, whether it be a standard deal or a 2-way deal. Every other player is a free agent. And then if a team wants them on a 10-day contracts outside of hardships, and let's all knock on wood and hope nobody has a hardship need early in the year, unfortunately, like Memphis did. But you get all the way to January 10th before 10-day contract, or I'm sorry, January 5th, rather, when 10-day contracts start. So you're just in a spot where it's going to be, a while with this before you could even see somebody pluck a guy out. But yeah, there's no the Lakers in this example with Olivari would have no recourse if another team wanted to sign him, assuming he wanted to sign. We have had players say, I'm good. I'm going to wait because I want to be here. I think, it's better for me to be with this team and develop, and they're going to have a spot for me. But that's more of like veteran guys that kind of hang out for, they know what the story is. It's like, we're waiting until we can sign them. But yeah, I mean, most of these guys, they will want to get that NBA, year of service, make that NBA money when they have the opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Let's go. Oh, somebody said this conversation is why the NBA needs expansion.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
I don't know if Quincy Oliv is the reason, but guys like
there's
him,
talented players
guys,
out there.
There are more talented players that aren't in the NBA between the G League and overseas that are not going to have jobs that could be in the NBA. There's I was talking to someone about that earlier in the week before we had the storm roll in, and one of the things we were talking about was like how many guys, and he was of the opinion, he's like, he believes there's probably around 80-90 guys that are not in the league that could be in the league, like really actually in the league. And he's in that in his mindset, he's like, that's like 2 teams worth of guys, because you always want to have some surplus, right? Because there's always going to be some level of, we need to have a couple guys extra around that aren't necessarily playing in the league. So 30 more jobs with 2 teams, or 36, I guess, with 2 ways. Then you get up to into the 60, 70 range if we go to 4 teams. So we're around that spot.
All right, let's go here. Oh, 3 theory through it. Keith, everything good with you? I'm in South Florida, and we had tornadoes going crazy. More tornadoes in one day than the past 4 years. I feel like, the tornadoes were. I know we were so focused on the hurricane, but the tornadoes were.
Oof. Yeah, and we hear that every time that there's a storm. That if you look at the path, it's that front right-hand side, that front right-hand quadrant. That's like the dirty side of the storm, and always like that's where the tornadoes will pop off. And we hear it, and then there's always like tornado warnings, tornado risk. But this time there was, I think there were 3 in 25 minutes in roughly the same general area. And that's like really scary, because as much as we build the houses here for hurricanes, they're not built. And a couple people said, do you guys have to go to like your basement? There's no basements in Florida. We're below sea level. So most of the state. So we're not, there's no basements here. You only dig down a couple feet and you hit water here in Florida. So there's no basement. So you get to an interior room and hope for the best. It was scary, and that's where a lot of the real like devastating stuff and images are coming out of, is the folks who got hit by those tornadoes. So all the best to them. We're always hoping they do okay.
All right. I banned somebody. I meant to just put on a timeout because the thing slid up. Whoops. I'll try to undo that in a minute. But guys, if you're just gonna say goofy stuff in the chat, we're just gonna remove it.
Especially if you're spamming the same stupid.
Yeah, when you're spamming the chat, don't do stuff like that.
I'm gonna start flagging some of these comments because there are some.
Yeah, go for it. I'm gonna grab this one here. Senpai said, do we think the players will take the in-season tournament serious this season? The Lakers drop after the in-season tournament last season leads me to believe a lot of teams may not. So the Lakers went all out after the in-season tournament, and I thought we got some great basketball. We got some playoff intensity, and not always the best strategic basketball, but playoff intensity basketball from the in-season tournament. And I've talked about that a lot. That's why I'm in on the now the NBA Cup, as it's called. Why I'm actually excited for it. But could it be a situation where what Senpai's talking about, where other teams see what happened with the Lakers last season, where they went all out and then had a big regression after they took their foot off the gas pedal, it burned them out a little bit, and then that next stretch pretty much undid their season. Essentially, they had a 3 for 13 or something stretch coming off of the in-season tournament win. Will they be the cautionary tale, or do we think teams are still going to gun for it, like we saw not every team but most teams do last year?
Yeah, maybe, right? I don't think we know yet, but it's with any of this stuff, it's probably going to take a good 3 years-ish of data to really have a good sense of what are the strategies around this. But yeah, I mean, if all of a sudden we start seeing teams say, you know what, like we're benching guys, especially like I do wonder if teams are going to say, you know, we're like a long shot to make this. Like we get into that final day and it's like, we need to win, have this team win, and we have to win by 30, like to get there. Like I do kind of wonder if it's going to be one of those things where like, yeah, we're not going to push overly hard for that because the likelihood of that happening is fairly slim. And yes, I know they changed some of the rules on the scoring differential and the like, but yeah, I'm curious to see because there could be something to this, like Senpai said here. It's yeah, I think there's a chance that this turns into uh you know teams prioritizing slightly different. Now, Doc Rivers just came out the other day and said he likes it because it gives the guy something to go for right away. And he doesn't feel like he has to like use the first part of the season necessarily to fully be up to speed. Just as like extended training camp. So that part of it's interesting. And I think the NBA was really smart to make these games double count where they are until you get into like the final rounds. These games are all regular season games too. So if you're in position to throw one or two of those away, yeah, I mean that's whatever. Then you could do that. But yeah, sure. I bet there are some teams that are looking at it like you said and saying, yeah, Lakers fell off after. Maybe we don't push so hard.
All right, let's go here. Should the Orlando Magic pick up Marcus Morris? I mean, do they need another veteran there on the way? I mean, I know you need guys who can shoot the three, and Marcus Morris, you know, he can have his hot games from deep. But what do you think about him as a target for Orlando?
No, I mean they don't have the roster spot. That's the biggest thing, and they don't need another forward size guy in the mix. I was a little surprised he didn't that the Knicks weren't keeping him around. It sounded like the Knicks when they had to waive him to then make the Cat trade sounded like they were like, hey, we want you to come back. But it sounds like he was like, if you're giving me a roster spot, I'll come back. If you're not, I'm not interested. So I think Marcus Morris will probably now bide his time, stay in shape, wait and see who has a need developed for him where he can actually play a role like he did with Cleveland last year, and then that's where he lands. But I don't think that'll be in Orlando.
Keith, this is cool. Bought tickets for Lakers OKC NBA Cup game November 29th. Can't wait. Taking my 8-year-old to his first game.
Man, that's the best.
That's so cool. That's so cool.
Like just the coolest stuff. Like that's awesome. What a game too, right? Yeah. That's the Thunder are terrific. Like that's great, man. I hope you guys have a blast. Hopefully he comes away with like, this is my guy, this is my favorite player, and this is my team. And I'm gonna guess that because he put the Lakers first, he's the Laker fan, and hopefully for your sake, it's not a Thunder guy and he doesn't fall in love with the Thunder. But we'll see how that goes. But that's how it went with me in baseball. I became a Yankee fan because
that's right.
Mattingly gave me a ball and that was it. So he's all about LeBron. All right, so you're probably good then. So that's great, man. But that's gonna be a blast. I love it.
So when I took my daughter to her first game, she danced her face off trying to get on the Jumbotron. And I'm sure I told the story on this show, but it was fantastic. She was, I mean, screaming defense at the top of her lungs when they were trying to get the crowd to get all fired up and chanting along with everything that she needed to. She was like in it, and her big goal was, I want to get on that giant TV because they were showing other kids. And at the very end of the game, like 30 seconds left in the fourth quarter, they put her up there and she was, it made her night. She was so excited.
That's the best, man. I love that stuff. Like, hey, it's so funny. So many of the, when we go to games as media, so many of our media brethren, they're like so cranky about like it's and I do agree, like it's overly loud in the arenas. There's times when like, you can't handle this. But yeah, I love the whole thing. Like I like the kiss cam, all the silly games they play, like that stuff. Just I don't know. I enjoy the whole thing. I love live basketball is just live sports. Anything like I'm gonna go and have a good time. But I love being at basketball. I do still have that. Somebody asked the guy you banned and let come back. play nice now, because now I'm going to answer your question too. Do I still have the baseball? I do.
Very
It's
cool.
actually, that's still at my parents' house. So I don't
Um,
have it here. It's one of the few things that they still have that's mine. I don't really know why.
so it's a keepsake now, something to
Yeah,
hang on to. Keith, this has not happened in like over a month now. Studio
yeah.
Stu, the studio
Checking in.
cat, has largely been grumpy cat. Whenever he starts the show up here, and the second I start talking, he's like, "That's it, I'm out," and he jumps down and
Yeah.
he leaves. So this is a rarity that
He
he's
saw
coming up here
Tatum
and hanging out.
getting that camera time earlier, and he's like, I gotta go. So
All right,
he
let's go
had to
here.
jump
I don't
in.
know the answer to this. What percentage of players are international in today's NBA compared to say 20 years ago? I know it's more now, but
Yeah.
I don't know what that percentage is.
You know when we'll get maybe a chance to figure this out is in about, it's like a week and a half away when the roster's
Roster
finalized.
set.
The
Yeah.
NBA will do that series of I don't know if those come out public or not. I know we get them on the media side, where it's like all like the roster notes.
Uh-huh.
But they release all these notes about rosters, and that's always one of them is, there are X percent of players that were born outside the United States playing on NBA teams this year and that. So once we get that, I can try to go back and look, but I don't know. It just, like you said, yeah, it's considerably more. Like that's the extent of what we do know for sure.
That's a fair answer, I think. That's a fair answer. Okay, let's go here. All-time favorite album you can't live without. So the first one that popped into and I've got a lot that I could say, but the first one that popped into my mind that was like formative for me, well, actually there's two, I guess. It would be 16 Stone by Bush and Smash by The Offspring. If I can, date myself a little bit there. Those are like the two that I first think of. And actually then between the two, the first one that popped in my head was Smash.
I think mine is probably License to Ill from the Beastie Boys.
Okay.
That's one that I go back to very regularly. And it has, in my opinion, some of their very best songs. And I go, that's one that it's pretty heavy in rotation when I'm writing. Because I like music when I'm writing, just because it helps me block everything else out. And I am like super shiny object when I write. So like I have to close like all my windows except for like Basketball Reference and the stuff I need to be able to pull information from, because otherwise like I'm like, oh look, a tweet, and then I'm like, then I get distracted and stuff, and yeah, so and I when I put music on, that's it. So I really try to just lock into whatever, but that one's pretty heavy in rotation for me.
See, I get distracted by the music. If I'm trying to write, and now not if it's instrumental, but if it's music with lyrics, the words like mess up my train of thought when I'm trying to write. That's what I find.
Yeah, I think it turns into just background noise for me, and it's like a blocker. But I know what you're saying. Like my wife can't do that. She can't do music. For her, it is like any kind of music, because she used to play music. So for her, it starts being like she starts like
her brain starts processing it, and
yeah. So, but yeah, so I AirPods in, music on, and that's it. It's funny because I've had a couple people. This usually in the summertime when like our daughter's at like camps and stuff. I'll drop her off and then I'll go find like a coffee shop to write in. During the day, I've had a couple people come up and like, hey, and they'll say hi. And it's funny because I always have my AirPods in. And like, well, if I take them out, they're like, I didn't want to disturb you before. And I'm like, oh, that's fine. It's just. And like, not that this happens regularly, but like if anybody sees me at like a game or like, come say hi. You're not going to bother me. Like, that doesn't, that's not like,
we do not have throngs of people following us and stuff to where it gets annoying or anything like that.
When I hit that level, I'll let you know when I have my private security push you away. But until then, I can. So.
All right, let's do. Oh, go ahead.
As an audio engineer, I can't listen to music outside of work because I listen for screw ups. Yeah, that's gonna be tough.
Oh, yeah.
Like, yeah. Oof, that's rough. Yeah, it's kind of right. We all have those things in life because it's like I don't read a lot of stuff other people write about the salary cap because I'm overly critical about it. Like I have the handful of people I write, and I try very hard not to, if someone reaches out and they're like, hey, I'm writing about this, can you help? I have to very much be like, all right, what level of detail are we going for here? Because that's going to help with my level of criticism of what you read. Yes, me a writer. Read. What you wrote. Jeez. I'm still a little sleep deprived. But yeah, I don't. There it is. There's our answer.
There,
Look
the
at
Bryce coming up in the clutch with the international numbers
So
here.
it basically over
Yeah.
doubled in 20 years.
Yep.
That's
So
crazy.
for podcast listeners, in the 2003-2004 season, 64 international players. 2023-2024, so last season, 134 international players.
Incredible.
So that's in a 20-year gap. 10 years ago, there were 93. So it is indeed going up and up and up.
Yeah. So,
all right.
Yeah, I mean, from 20 years ago, yeah, from the last couple, I guess 41 more guys is still a lot, even in 10 years.
Yeah. It's a solid increase.
Yeah.
All right. Tomas said, hey, guys, what steps do you think the NBA can take to make the G League more like a true minor league system like MLB? I think it would eventually be great for both the game and the players. I am not totally well versed on every nuance of how MLB's minor league system works. I have a basic understanding of the way that it is in terms of the tiers and things like that. I don't know that we ever get to that point to where you have like AAA, AA, all that kind of stuff like the MLB system. But I can say, like, from when it was created, the G League or D League, as it used to be, has come a long way towards being like a true pathway into. Now we're seeing a bunch of guys who have come through the G League and had long and successful NBA careers. So I think they're on the right path with it. I don't know that we ever see the tier system. And Keith, I don't know if you have a better understanding of MLB's minor league system to where there's other parts of it that that might apply.
Yeah, I do, because I've done work on that side outside of just the basketball work. Not really anymore, but I used to. It's the biggest difference is in MLB when you're in the minors. The team basically owns your rights, so they can promote you to the majors at any time, and nobody else can come in and just sign you. There's definitely times when that happens where the team will say, hey, we really need a starting pitcher that we can put in AAA to get ready because we need them in a month in the majors. And then they'll work with the other team, but that ends up being a trade that happens. The difference in the NBA, like I said before, is outside of the two-way guys and the handful of guys on assignment, nobody's rights are owned by the NBA team. So what kills me here with this is I go right down the middle of this would be great for the teams. I don't know that it's great for the players.
Yeah.
Because the players lose that agency, right? And that, no pun intended, but that free agency aspect of this to just say, hey, I'm stuck. Like, let's use Quincy Oliv as an example. If the Lakers had him in the minors and had full control over him, they have no reason to say, yeah, we'll let him go to the Pistons on a 10-day contract.
Right.
Now, first step for the G League to get to anything more of a true minor league, we had to have every team had to have their own affiliate. We have that now. This will be the first year we're going to have all 30 teams with affiliates. There's 31 teams because Mexico City is still here, but not affiliated. And then the Ignite went away. That they shut that program down. So that was step one. Now I think the second piece is how do I explain this? It is going to be, could we come up with some form of, like, now everybody's gonna be like, oh, cool, Adam Silver and European soccer model. We have some form of loan system where it is the Pistons have a need. Pistons want Quincy Oliv. Lakers say, okay, we'll loan him to you for 10 days. But then when the 10-day is up, he reverts back to us in the minors. I think we could get there, down the line. And Tomas will pull up his second part of this. Make sure each team has their own minor team focused on development. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's why you are seeing teams make such an effort now to do the exhibit 10s, which give the players the bonus if they go to the G League and stay with them. They're doing the effort as far as, hey, we really want to get these guys through into our minor league system because they are focused. They are really seeing these teams as extensions of their roster. And then the other thing that's happened really over the last 4-ish years, teams have really started using the G League like the way MLB does for like rehab type assignments where guys coming back, we're going to have them go down. They don't generally play in games, but we're going to have them go down, practice with the team, they'll run through a bunch of drills with the team and then come back because NBA teams just don't practice that often. Yeah. So this is a way for them to get down there and do that. And that's always another piece. That's why you've seen the teams. It used to be G League teams are scattered all over the country away from the NBA team. More and more now they're within driving distance of wherever the NBA team is, if not same city, same area, right there. Same, often cases, same facilities and everything.
Well, and if you had, you talk about having how they don't really have players play in games if they're on rehab assignments, essentially. And MLB, they do. They'll have pitchers, especially. We hear about this all the time. Oh, he threw it. He threw 2 innings or whatever with the AAA affiliate or something like that, just to kind of go through the motions, right? And make sure you're okay. The problem with the NBA is if you're trying to mimic that, let's say you have somebody who's recovering from injury, a decent sized name that you send down there. If it's like I keep thinking of like Klay Thompson, somebody like that. The problem is you're going to get some G League guys that are going to go, this is my chance to make a name for myself. I'm going at this guy. And that's not really what you want for your guy that's rehabbing. In baseball, it's a little bit different because you're a pitcher on the mound, you're throwing to live batters. It's not, there's not that physical aspect of it. Whereas I think if you tried to do that in the G League, you've got these guys that are going 150 miles an hour doing everything they can to catch anybody's attention in the NBA. And there's guys that are going to go right at whoever that guy is, trying so that they can be, hey, look, I dunked on this guy. Maybe this will get attention on me. And that's where, you if you're the NBA team, you don't want your player in that situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's why a lot of NFL teams went away from playing guys in the last preseason game because it was we don't need some dude who's just trying to flash on tape, laying out a player just so he can get, hey, look at me, right? It's when everybody's just trying to get to the next week healthy. So yeah, it's a little different, but I do like the whole go down, controlled environment, have them practice. The first team I can remember really doing that on a regular basis was San Antonio, which they've kind of pushed a lot of things in the NBA. They're very forward thinking, and it was funny because I wish I could remember who it was, but they sent a player down. Everybody's like, they sent this guy to the G League, and he was like a starter and a highly paid guy, and it's like, yeah, but not really. Like he's going to be recalled tomorrow. Like, and then other teams started doing it, and because that is another rule. I don't know. A lot of people know. Once a player I think has 4 years of service, any player they have to agree to be assigned to the G League too. You can't just say, hey, go down to the G League. It's not like, the Lakers could tell LeBron, hey, go down to the G League, and that's where you'll play with Bronny. Like because he would probably be like, no, I'm good. I'm not doing that. But if it was, hey, you've been out a month, we want to get you some live reps in practice. Okay, then that's a little bit of a different thing.
Any of the G League guys that hit are valuable as cheap rotation guys, so it pays to have a good program. Absolutely. And that's even more important, I believe, under the new CBA than it was under the last one.
Oh, yeah.
To be able to find guys like that. It's huge. Absolutely.
Yeah,
huge.
Exactly. Yeah. If we can get to a point with some of these teams, Celtics, Suns, Bucks, Lakers, Heat, that are really expensive, if you can backfill with guys on minimums or near minimum contracts, or even guys on 2 ways initially, like you're in a really great spot there if you can fill it that way, because that's how you bounce off having guys who make $50 million at the top of the roster.
Keith, I'm going to take a moment here and just take a little victory lap. Tomas said I just made him a lifetime fan because I pronounced his name correctly, did not call him Thomas. I have to take this victory lap while I can, because more often than not, I tend to mispronounce names. So I will take this one. I will enjoy this moment because I know that I'm not far away from butchering somebody's name.
I'm going to guess, having been a teacher in Arizona, you might have had a handful of Tomases in the 100%. Classroom. Yeah, yep. I had a timer 10 there. Yeah. Yep.
I
Yeah,
actually did when I did my student teaching in California. I had a class that was all second language learners. And so that was a really fun class, and it was challenging for that class because there was a bit of a language barrier, but I also picked up on a lot of stuff from that class. Those kids were, I'll never forget those kids. And that was like, that was like 20 years ago now.
That's awesome though, man. That's the difference, right? That's when you know you're making a difference on stuff here.
Yeah.
I saw one of here it is. New listener to the pod here. Welcome. Happy to have you. Happy to have you joining us here on YouTube
Yeah.
as well. Make sure you subscribe, both places. Thoughts on how you guys see the Nets assets this season? DFS, Cam Johnson. I think we made the make the trade with Philly for KJ Martin at the deadline for other guy. It's going to have to be KJ Martin plus, especially for Cam Johnson. He makes a little bit more money, but that could be where, you could see Philly get there. So wouldn't shock me. Philly's done a pretty good job to manage the roster well. They've got KJ Martin as a tradable salary sitting there. And then you've got a couple other guys that you could definitely put into a trade. I don't mean this with any disrespect to any of the other Philly guys that aren't Embiid, Maxey, or Paul George, but all of those guys feel like they could be tradable to me. If it was a definite upgrade, but it would have to be a real upgrade. But yeah, Cam Johnson, 23.6, Dorian Finney-Smith, 14.9. Those are a little bit of bigger numbers there on those. So a little harder to move those guys, but especially Cam Johnson. But yeah, I mean, Philly's in range at least of making that happen if that's the direction they want to go.
And I mean, from the Nets side, yeah, like all these guys, they should be very willing to move. Dorian Finney-Smith for sure, 31 years old. Cam Johnson, they could conceivably wait on him, I guess, if they wanted to another year. But yeah, these guys should all be in play for a Nets team that's going to be, looking to lose some games, looking to maybe capture the flag. That's something that I think we're going to see from this team. Ben Simmons, he's drawn high praise so far, but we'll see. We'll see. I'm not falling for it this year, Keith. I'm not getting my hopes up. And if Ben Simmons becomes Ben Simmons again, I'll just be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I would rather come back on here in like March or April and be like, holy crap, were we wrong on Ben Simmons, than be wrong in November when we were like, Ben Simmons, huh? Like, and then he's not doing anything. Like that'd be I'd rather be that way. Related questions, since we have it up. Should Nets look to take on bad money and picks with Simmons' contract? Yeah.
For sure.
If they have that opportunity, if they have the opportunity to go take on money that stretches out another 2 seasons over just Simmons, Simmons is the primary salary match, but they're taking on 2 seasons, 3 seasons of bad money for assets in return. Yeah, I'd be all over that. The Nets this is a minimum of like a 2 or 3 year kind of window here. 3 years out, they don't have their own pick in 27. So that's where it gets a little tricky. The Rockets did keep that one. But yeah, I mean, in the next couple of weeks, sure. Like absolutely. Or couple years, we should be in a spot where we see these guys do this.
All right.
G Mercado. Alfred Payton's back in the league. He is. He signed a camp deal with the Pelicans.
That's right.
Probably going to head to Birmingham. I never miss an opportunity. Birmingham Squadron, my favorite team name in the G League. But yeah, started headed the G League with them. So
let's go here. Thoughts on Benedict Mathurin showing out yesterday? 6th man of the year potential this year. I will admit I was busy with the Lakers game last night, so I did not see Benedict Mathurin's performance. I will check out the stats, and after this, I'll dig into some of the games and everything from last night. But in general, Benedict Mathurin, could he be 6th man of the year? Maybe. I mean, I wouldn't like bet on it happening or something like that, but he is a talented player. He's an exciting player. And I think Indiana's got a good one in him. I don't know that I would put him all the way up there and say 6th man of the year, especially because Malik Monk exists. I just think he's the perfect archetype of what
Naz
the 6th
Reid
man of the year
too.
tends to be. Yeah, Naz Reid, but I must wonder if Naz Reid is going to get so many opportunities. I don't know. Like, I'm kind of wondering if we see Naz take a starting role at times with the Wolves this season.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe
Randall would have to like really not go well with Randall Gobert for that to happen. But yeah, I mean, it's a tough race to break into because there are a lot of good guys. Like even like Norman Powell, still a really good 6-man for the Clippers. So we'll see with that. But yeah, I mean, I like Mathurin. I do like that they're not just because for a little bit, it felt like they were going to really shoehorn him into that starting group. Yeah. And that starts to become a lot of guys who need the ball to be really effective. Whereas like Andrew Nembhard can kind of play off ball more and be more effective. But Mathurin, so I pulled it up. 25 points last night on 8 of 12 from the floor and 5 of 8 from 3. So that's good stuff. So yeah, I'm not going to go nuts over a preseason game, but we also saw him play really well with the team earlier this year. So, or earlier in his career, I should say. So yeah, I like Mathurin. But 6th man of the year, I mean, maybe we'll see, but I don't think he'll win it.
All right. I guess Keith, I didn't realize the time has been flying. We're almost at the hour mark.
Yeah, maybe we'll head off for the weekend. One more I wanted to pull, and I can't find it now. So I'll just answer it. Somebody asked about roster deadlines coming up, and that's a good question. So the next big roster deadline is the 21st. That is when teams have to finalize their rosters for opening night. That is also the rookie scale extension deadline and veteran extensions for players that have 2 or more years remaining. So that is the deadline for all of that. The 19th is the last day to waive a player without accruing a per day charge from keeping them on the roster. Every once in a while, we'll see that happen with guys where they'll keep somebody and then they will keep a guy on the roster because they're not quite ready and they're like, yeah, fine if we $7,000, $10,000 in a per day charge. But most of your roster moves are going to come in a week from tomorrow. By the 19th, you're going to see teams do their final cut downs, really set their opening night rosters, and be ready to go with that. So we're a little over a week out, but 21st that's the next big one. 22nd is obviously opening night. And then the 31st is the deadline to pick up rookie scale team options. That one still, I don't know why they haven't made it the same date as the others before the season, just to keep it complicated, I guess. But it's that is the that will run out into the 31st on that one. So you get a week or so, week and a half into the season that you can. If you still need time to decide, I guess, but we've already seen a handful of those get picked up. Most of those will get done in the next week or so as well.
All right. Important dates to remember. Keith, we got a big baseball game tonight. I'm excited for it, for Dodgers and Padres coming up. Going to be a big game 5. By the way, guys, if you are a baseball fan, check out Dodger Blue. If you're a Dodgers fan, they do a phenomenal job over there. Great stuff. Nobody covers the Dodgers the way that they do. They do a great job. So check out their YouTube channel as well. But Keith, I'm glad we were able to do this show today. Have our front office Friday, and then we'll head off to the weekend. And you guys know if anything pops over the weekend, we'll jump on and we'll cover it. But this time of year, we're probably expecting just some more preseason games, enjoy some basketball, all of that. And then we'll be back next week. Keith, again, really glad you guys were able to make it through that storm okay. And that we were able to come on and do this today.
Yeah, me too. Super excited to be here. I don't know if people can hear it. There's some chainsaws running around the neighborhood, and the regular neighborhood lawn guys are out there cleaning up now. So they're doing some work here. But it's I didn't want to make this all about pulling everybody up who said something in the chat, but I saw them all, guys. I saw all the emails. I've seen all the tweets. Can't thank you all enough, for all that. And again, I'll repeat it. We're okay. We're good. A lot of people are not. If you find yourself moved to help, just do a little bit of research to make sure it's legitimate. charity. Unfortunately, there's a lot of scams out there. We've already been getting all kinds of stuff about a whole bunch of them just here in the local area. But find a good place, find a charity that speaks to you and help some people out, because there's a lot of people across the state who need help figuring out, and they've got a lot of rebuilding and a lot of work to do. But thanks everybody for your well wishes and everything. It means more to me and my family than you could ever know.
That's right. That's right. All right. Well, everybody, have a fantastic weekend. We'll be back next week unless something big happens over the weekend. We'll see you all on Monday. Till then, everybody, see ya and stay safe.